I feel is a community a lot like this one, in that it's trying to find an identity for itself outside of heavy industry. As you might know, they had a cruise ship coming in, and the feeling that I got there from their business owners was that they were failing to provide any sort of draw for the tourists that were coming off of the cruise ships. My concern is that as it currently stands in our downtown core, that we will receive a failing grade no matter what happens, no matter what you say about tourism. So I want to pose a hypothetical question to you. Let's say 4 years from now, you've served a term as mayor. What the heck will you have been able to do to give our downtown core a facelift and change something that hasn't been able to change for the past 20 years?
Thank you. Jen Fisher-Bradley.
Thank you for the question. And it's a complex answer because we have a lot of problems in Port Alberni. Some of them are crime, some of them are racism, some of them are all kinds of systemic discrimination. These are the ways that you change the face of your community. You have to work from within. You have to recognize the root causes of the problems, and you have to work on the root causes. You can't just keep band-aiding your way out of it. So we need, for example, a graffiti park where youth can express what they're feeling. They can express their rage, they can express their joy. We need places where people congregate, people gather, and they feel safe. So we need safe space. I know a lot of people who live, First Nations people, who tell me they're not comfortable in Port Alberni. That's a fact. We have to work on these issues. If we want to be a better community, we need to do diversity training. That's something I've already been working on. It's already starting in the community. The Safe Harbor, Respect for All diversity training program. We need to be able to talk about these issues without getting all wigged out. You know, you can't be getting your knickers in a knot when we're so desperate to resolve these issues in our community, because it matters. It matters to business. We are not a business-friendly community, and that's a fact. We have to change that. We have to change it by working on the root causes. So we do have a lot of work to do, but I'm convinced that we can do it. We can do it together. We're smart enough, we're educated enough, there's lots of models out there, and we can make some significant changes and beautify our downtown. And we can also plant some trees, because I think that's something that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Excuse me. I'm going to get a cable car to run up Argyle Street.
That's my idea.
Yeah, anyway. But just to carry on, sorry. The general beautification of our community is part of the concept that would, of course, extend to the uptown revitalization. So we need to beautify our entire community, our entranceways, our core, and, of course, the uptown area needs particular attention. One of the things that I like to see, that I get a lot of feedback from people in the community suggesting spontaneously to me before I even mention it, is the concept of small, attractive, unique businesses on the ground level with attractive living suites above them, similar to the new post office building down there at the bottom of Argyle. So things along that nature, those are the type of things we need to promote. How are we going to do it? Well, one of the structural changes I'd like to see done, and this is through watching our city council for the last 3 years, is a portfolio change where we'd have a councillor dedicated solely to a couple issues. One of them being uptown revitalization, and the other one being waterfront diversification. And that's how I think we need to do it, is get a councillor assigned to that and make it a progress report on how we're doing, where we're going.
When Pat Deacon first came to our community, it was so exciting to talk to him about all the ideas that he had. It's a well-known fact that when you have a rundown uptown core such as what we do, one of the first things that you work really hard toward getting is an anchor tenant. You can only attract an anchor tenant though with a really good plan. One of the first things I think that needs to happen is we need to enforce our nuisance bylaw uptown. I think that the aesthetic looks, it can be easily overcome by simply adhering to some of the laws, the bylaws that we have to do that. The other thing that I've already been doing is I've been talking to, for example, the owner of the Zellers building. That lease is coming up soon with the Hudson Bay Company. We've been talking about what the options are for that particular building in itself. There are some ideas, but I think what that I'm trying to say is working with the owners of the building in the uptown core is really, really vital to find out what they have to offer and to put together a plan that we can market out there to all kinds of companies that would establish themselves in an uptown core like that. These boutique, small stores and encouraging investment that way. But the first thing that we've got to work toward is the aesthetic value of it in the uptown core, working with the owners and really working hard to find that anchor tenant. Once you have a really good anchor tenant in the uptown core, we will be able to, that will follow with other tenants leading the way. That's one of the first things.
So things we're working in right now is as far as the uptown core and uptown revitalization. We were the first city on Island Coastal Economic Trust to get money for uptown revitalization. Is the old post office. Someone finally understands that they will not make any decisions in the city unless coming to city council, and we will have the final say. They understand that clear right now. So we have a group that's interested in that building because that's going to be our arts district. It's Rotarians Art District. So we're in discussions with them right now to see what we can do with that. They overprice all their property, so no one will ever buy it. And we want to make sure we can do something with that. Another issue that's come up is the waterfront. The Shell property or the Columbia Fuel property on the waterfront. I think the city should take that back because that'd be a perfect area for us to do something really positive with on the waterfront. Same with Imperial Oil. But people don't realize the biggest piece of property on this waterfront is owned by Island Timber on the other side of the canal, which they don't do anything with and don't intend to do anything with. We have to lobby the government to get them to free up that property so we can use that for something. That is beautiful property. First Nations. The First Nations were going to put a big tour center in at the junction of the Tofino and Ucluelet Highway. But since half the tribes come from that area and half comes from Ucluelet, Uchuctisset, and Ohio, they decided that if they're going to do anything, they should do it in Port Alberni. We don't do enough with First Nation tourism. With the land claims, just Ohio band for instance, they got over $300 million. They want to do something. They want to do it here in this community where most of their people live. They want to do something so we can get people to come into Port Alberni, and once they come to Port Alberni, then they can go down to Bachina Beach and other places in the beautiful Alberni Inlet. But that's what we have to do. We have to change that bloody name of inlet. We should call it fjord like the Norwegians call it when they came up here in their boats. Inlet sounds like a goddamn place where you put your sewer or something. Let's get rid of that. Let's change it. Let's be positive.
Next question, please.
My name is Jacques Savard. Aside from the foregone conclusions of non-transparency, non-credibility, drunkenness with power, superficiality, and dog whistling.
Could you ask your question, please?
It's coming.
No, I don't want a speech. I want the question.
Let him speak. Why should I vote for each one of you, aside from all what I said?
Mayor McRae?
I think you should vote for Mayor McRae because of my love and passion for my community that I've loved since I was born here. I'm probably the biggest bragger anyway of this community. When I had the opportunity to go to China, which some people think the city paid for, which I paid from my own way, I was never so proud in my life to be with the largest delegation of any community in the world, to be on the largest television network in the world, the Chinese network, and I could boast about my community. When I was in Greece and talking to the Prime Minister of Greece, I had the same opportunity. People have kind of doom and gloom things about Port Alberni. A lot of people have real positive things about Port Alberni. The president of the Olympics, when I was talking to him, I said, "Have you ever been to Port Alberni? The best steelhead fishing in the world," he says. "I come and fish in the Snap River all the time." So there's lots of positive things. It's not as negative as it once was, and it was really negative. Things are improving. When I go down to Nanaimo and Duncan, I smell that rotten smell of a sulfate pulp mill. I thought, what's going on here? We don't have that anymore. We change things around a lot. It takes time to do anything. Being on council for 10 years, I know it takes time. One step at a time, but we're moving in the right direction.
I think one of the assets that I have to offer as Mayor of Port Alberni, when I think I would be a great mayor for Port Alberni, is because I'm not from here, and I have been able to look at it with different eyes, and I do see it from the eyes of those people that do not live here, that are outside of the valley, for all of the assets and all of the reasons that we can build upon. And yes, it is a beautiful place, and it is wonderful, and I think that we haven't even, as I mentioned previously, haven't even tapped into the potential that we have for this community. I think the focus has been, as I mentioned, on economies of the past. I think that we need to diversify our economy, and I think by doing that in itself is going to attract new people to our community. We build a base, and then we can build on that. I really believe that as a mayor of Port Alberni, that I have something new and different to offer.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacques. I think you should vote for me because I'm a proactive person. I get very actively involved in pursuing goals that I like to set to achieve and what I like to work together with a team to set and to achieve. I'd like to encourage a very proactive council, and that's my agenda. If you elect me, is what I want to do is get council that's aggressively working towards the goals that we need to get to. I'm a fantastic ambassador for our community. Everywhere I go, if I run into people from Qualicum or Parksville, even on the island, I'm always asking them why they live on the dark side and why don't they come over here to share in the joys and happiness that we have in this community. They better do it before it's too late, because there won't be any more room. I'm very open to new, innovative ideas. I've lived elsewhere other than Port Alberni as well, and so I've been able to see things that have been done, for example, with waterfront in other communities. Everyone now has probably seen what they've done in the Nanaimo harborfront. Okay, but if you just travel a little bit farther and go to Victoria, Falls Creek in Vancouver, Cole Harbour, there's a ton of stuff we could do here in the same realm. It's just a matter of getting down to it and doing it. So that's another reason, Jacques. And I have a lot of experience over the last 3 years with our council and with our provincial and federal players and a lot of people in the community. And the last thing is that I have a vision. I have a plan. I like to get things done, and I like bears, Jacques.
Well, there's a global food crisis going on, and it's not getting any better. The other day, China bought 900,000 tons of corn from the United States, the largest grain purchase ever. They have a lot of US dollars. They're standing ready to buy the grain that they need to feed their animals and their people. And our wheat board is under attack right now. So if you vote for me, your descendants are not going to go hungry. I'm going to make sure that we have food security. And people who've been reading what I write in the paper and hopefully not getting too offended, because I know I've been very tough on the community, and that was in order to get your attention on the food security issue. I apologize if I've offended anybody. It came from a pure heart. Like Mayor McRae, I also love this community, and I do what I do out of that love, because we can't ignore this problem. It's coming down the pipes. Our food is insecure. It's insecure now. We have 3 days of food on Vancouver Island. If we don't start doing something about that as a community, as other communities on the island are, we're going to be behind. And I don't think anybody's coming to our rescue.
Thank you.
You should vote for me. I'm not done yet. You should vote for me because I have excellent computer skills and excellent communication skills. And I have used those skills for this community since I've lived here. I have excellent research skills. And when I talk to people one-on-one, I'm an extremely good listener. And I think good listening is really important as a mayor. Thank you.
I would just remind